Hey y'all, welcome to the filling station. I am super excited. So y'all, listen, let me go ahead and give my disclaimer. I am not a financial advisor. I just enjoy teaching people how to build generational wealth, and the stock market is just an avenue to build generational wealth. So yeah, I am not a financial advisor. This is just merely for educational purposes. Let me say that. So with that being said, let's get started. So in this video, we're going to discuss, okay, you're interested in being a trader. I am interested in learning how to trade. I want to know how to trade, right? So let's talk about some of the things that you will need to definitely, just that things that you can do on your own, right? Or you can be doing now to see if this is something that you're really interested in doing, right? Because sometimes, we can get into something and then we realize that really doesn't work for us. And then if you're like me, you want to give up without realizing, wait a minute, Didi, you're going to have to do some work too. And, sometimes people can teach us things, but the best thing is to go back and try to figure some things out on your own and come up with your own way of doing things, right? See, I have a mentor and he has taught me well, but I still had to take some of the things that he taught me and tweak it and make it my own versus I don't want to trade exactly like him. I want to take some of the things that I've learned and I want to be able to apply it in the way that it's given to me, right? So if you're interested in becoming a trader or if you want to be a trader, I really strongly encourage you to just start looking at the charts, right? And there's so many different platforms that you can look at, like Webull. This is TD Ameritrade, and this is the one that I ran away from, y'all. I did not want to look at this chart because it was too complex. It was too, to me, it was beyond my realm of understanding, and I did not want to use it. So I used Webull, and Weeble charting, I was able to see it a little bit better. I understood it. I understood where the candles portion, of it. And let me say that you want to study the candles or learn the candles. But, in this example, we're just going to look at this chart. And if I was new in the market, let me tell you how immediately my eye would have went to certain things, and then I would go and write these things down, and I would go do research on why it's like that, because I'm an overthinker. I try to figure things out, but I'm able to pick out what's wrong before I understand what's right. And I can't explain that. That's just how I'm wired. Let me say that. I can't explain that in no other way. But okay, so if I was looking at this chart here, I immediately would have noticed that these candles are under this blue line. That's a given. I would have noticed, okay, why are these candles under this blue line? And two, why are these candles going down? So that tells me that this stock must be going down. It's under this blue line. So what is this blue line? It's the 5 EMA. I need to figure out what it means when the candles are under the 5 EMA. That's an automatic thing for me. My eye would have immediately went to that. And then I would have noticed that it's far from this purple line, it's far from these purple dotted lines, it's far from this white line, it's far from this red line. I need to go figure out what these lines mean and what does it mean when they are this far away. So when you're looking at a chart, don't get overwhelmed with, what you're seeing. Try to figure out why you're seeing what you're seeing, because in the market the charts are telling you something. Sometimes we just have to dissect and try to understand what the charts are, break down what the charts are trying to tell us, and not get overwhelmed. And y'all, I'm telling you, even if you don't know, even if you don't have a mentor, I have an awesome mentor. Even if you don't have that, you can Google this information, or ask somebody, or write down your questions, so that when you are in position to ask somebody, don't be afraid to ask. Because see, that's where a lot of people miss it at. We want people to think that we know it, and when we really don't know it, right? So I remember when I first started trading, I would go into Clubhouse, and they were using charts like this, and here I am at a place that I knew nothing about what this meant. So in the room, I would not say much of anything. I would be quiet every single day, but I had a notebook with me at all times, and I would write stuff down. And when I wrote the things that I wrote down after Clubhouse, I went and did research, and I looked those things up, right? So I wanted to know what this candle meant, this green candle here, and what this red candle meant, and what does these MACD lines down here, what does that mean? What is this RSI line? When it's below this blue line here, what does that mean? When it crosses here, what does that mean? When it's really, really close together, what does this mean? These are things that I would ask, I would write down and go and do research on, because I hear them talking about it, but I never would say anything. And they would always tell me, you never say anything. You come in here every single day and never say anything. And the only response that I could give them at the time was, when you're in a room of greatness, right? I don't need to talk. Y'all are making millions. I need to listen. I need to be at a place of listening, and I need to be able to write those things down. And when I get to the point to where I can't do the research and understand it, I'm going to ask questions, right? So don't ever feel like you know everything, or you're not at a place to where you can ask questions. At first I was very, very intimidated by this type of chart. And when I met the mentor that I have now, I it was at a place of, okay, they were more advanced. They were totally beyond my realm of understanding. And I remember telling my husband, I don't think this is for me. I don't think I can do this with them, because they talk in a language that I don't understand. And I remember sending him a message and saying, is it okay if I ask questions, because I really don't understand the language that you're speaking? He said, no. He said, that's what this is for. He said, ask your questions. He said, don't ever be afraid to ask your questions. So I needed to remind somebody, make sure you ask your questions, or find somebody that you can ask. And if they don't know, they should be, willing to say, I don't know, let me get back with you. Let's see if we can find an answer to your question. But don't ever be afraid to ask your question, and don't ever be afraid to say, that this is a silly question, or this is a crazy question, or no question. If you have a question, you have a question, right? So look back to looking at these charts and being totally overwhelmed with what you're seeing. Go to those free platforms like Webull or TradingView, and just start looking at the charts and see if you can understand, if you can just visually see. And I'm a visual learner, and that's one of the things that you've got to learn about yourself. How do you learn? Some people can read it and get it. I am a visual. I have to see it, and then I get it, right? I can go to what's wrong before I see what's right. So go to those free platforms and look at the charts, and you may not have the moving averages on your charts. Maybe you just have the candlesticks, right? And if that's the case, start paying attention to the candles. Can you figure out a pattern? Can you see that it goes up and then it comes down? And how high did it go up? It only reached this high here. Here it only reached this high here, but it's still making lower lows, right? So these candles are going lower. So that tells me that I don't need to be trading against the low, because it's going down. Basically, it's under the 5, it's going down. So I wouldn't want to trade to the upside knowing that it's going down. These are things that you can figure out on your own. These are things that some things in the market, from my experience, you may not be taught. It's some things that you're just going to have to develop. Again, you create your own way of trading, right? And that's what makes trading so unique. We all can trade so many different ways, but in using technique styles, let me say that we all can come up with our own pattern, our own technique, and it makes money for us, right? But regardless, you're using the same charts. So if you can learn how to understand what this here is, which right now sometimes it may look like Greek, but we'll learn it piece by piece, right? If you can understand what this means, you can trade anything. You can trade the forex market, if you want to do cryptocurrency, if you want to do stocks, if you want to do options, you can do futures, you can do anything, using these charts, because again, they are all the same. So in this, we are looking at Bitcoin, and I said, I did a video that Bitcoin was it looks as if it was gonna break this gap here. It has a gap here, these lines. So it filled its gap here, and it's still showing that it's going down. So I need to be paying attention to how low it's going down, right? But I wouldn't be trading it to the upside until I get a signal that, all of this right here is what we will consider resistance, right? It will need to break all of this in order to be going back to the upside. And again, this is the 5-minute chart. And when you look at the time frames, y'all, and you think of time frames, you're thinking of longer length in time. You get a bigger picture, a bigger view, smaller view down on a smaller time frame. So this is the 30-minute chart, right? So we see that Bitcoin did fill its gap. Right here, it consolidated, it came down, filled its gap. It tried to go back up, but look, it came right back down again, right? So now it's back to the consolidation. Is it going to go slightly up again and continue down, which it looks as if we're still under the 5 and it's a sharp decline down? So, hey, I say trade what you see, but the main thing is learning what you see and understanding what that means. And we'll talk about the different candles, like this candle and these type of candles, and if it's at the top of the move and if it's at the bottom of the move and all of that good stuff, right? But try not to get overwhelmed. See if you can go and figure out, pay attention to patterns, if you can pick out patterns. And one of the things about the stock market, it will teach you something about yourself, right? So listen, I hope this is helpful, looking at some of, just seeing the things that you can pick out. By looking at this, what can you pick out? What do you see as being different? And write those things down and then do some research on that. Yeah. So I am Miss Dee Dee here at the Filling Station, y'all. I hope this is very, very helpful. I am super excited. I always say, look, future millionaires, one trade at a time, right? Until next time, y'all, be blessed as well as a blessing unto others.